Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market Pensacola. So how do we get a lower rate in this marketplace? How do I get a lower interest rate in this marketplace? Well, we got a couple options. If you've watched the last couple of shows, I talked about lease options may give it to you. Owner financing may give it to you. Contract for deed may give it to you. Assumptions may give it to you. So I'm going to give you another option today. One of the things it's called is a 2-1 buy down. Now, as soon as I tell you a little bit of it, we're going to have some knee-jerk reactions, especially if people have been in the market since 08 and 09, 6, 7, and people are going to think this is an adjustable rate mortgage. Let me tell you how an adjustable rate mortgage works, and then I'll tell you what the options are now. An adjustable rate mortgage, when I wrote these, I wrote a ton of these in the mortgage industry. So I owned a mortgage. For those of you who don't know, I owned a mortgage company for like a decade. That's probably why I know more about this stuff than I should. But what you would do is your first 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of an adjustable rate mortgage was fixed. So let's say I wrote an adjustable rate mortgage and it was a 5-year ARM. What that meant was for the first 5 years, it was a fixed rate and usually lower. After that, it adjusted. That's what they call it, an adjustable rate mortgage. It adjusted either every 6 months or every year, depending on how it was written. And it was tied to a consumer price index. It was tied to a LIBOR. A lot of them were tied to the LIBOR, which is a London index. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the economics and bore everybody on this show on how that does, but that's how an ARM worked. And the problem was we had a lot of people that qualified based on that lower payment. So let's say it was a 3-year ARM. That lower payment for those 3 years is all they qualified for. And when it adjusted, they really couldn't afford it. That's what caused a lot of the crash. Okay, we can talk about the pick-a-pay loans in another episode where you get to pick a payment and, well, sometimes your payment wasn't even enough to cover the interest, so you grew value, and how those got absolutely overused. The product was great for a certain customer, but anyways, I'm not going to go into that. That's how an ARM worked. Okay, so you would have fixed for the first 3 years, 5 years, whatever, 10 years, and then for the rest of it, it would adjust every 6 months, every year. What I'm talking about now is what's called a 2-1 buy down. So it works kind of similar, but a lot of the cons of, from pros and cons, the cons of an adjustable rate mortgage is out. So what a 2-1 buy down is for the first 12 months. I got an email this morning, literally as I was getting ready for this, and it was talking about here's the 2-1 buy down option that we have on our properties right now. It said for the first 12 months, the interest rate is 3.99%. 3.99. The next 12 months, the interest rate is 4.99%. The final 12 months, the interest rate is 5.99%, and that interest rate of 5.99% stays steady for the rest of the term. So if it's a 30-year mortgage, it's a 30-year mortgage. The ARMs are not abnormal when it comes to the commercial, but these 2-1 buy downs would be really weird in the commercial market. So that's an option for people to buy. Now, how does it differ? Mainly for the fact that the 5.99 is for the whole 30 years. That's also what you have to qualify for. So when you get the mortgage, your original qualification is off that 5.99. Let's call it 6, all right? Instead of 5.99, let's just call it 6%. They have to qualify you off that maximum payment. Then we can just cash flow things for the first couple of years. Why does that make sense right now? Well, I'm going to show you a slide when we get into our stats that shows the economists are expecting mortgage rates to drop over the next 12 months. Now, are they going to drop all the way back down to the 2s and 3s? No. I would be honestly surprised if I ever saw that again in my career. A 2% interest rate on mortgages, I would be extremely surprised if I ever saw that again in my career. I never say never, but I would be surprised if I did. So we're not going to get there. But could that help maybe buy a property now? And in 12 months, if something does drop, let's say it drops to 4.5, or let's say that you were at the 6% maximum and it drops down to 5 or 4 7/8 or something on a 30-year fixed, then you can refinance. You wind up refinancing and you restructure the deal, and now all of a sudden you've locked that in. So it's a way to actually get stuff in right now with the higher interest rates, but buy things down. It does cost money. Like I said earlier, it does cost money. Usually I will wind up getting the seller to pay for this. So, price terms. This is a term. All right, so we might have to give them the price or maybe even a little extra to help them pay for this term. But that actually can help with our current interest rates. Instead of a 7.5, or, I saw some stuff coming in the 8s last week or 2 weeks ago. Although we started to see some mortgage interest drop this week because it has an inverse relation with a 10-year yield. Again, I'm not going to get into the economics of all that. I can, and maybe I will in a different episode, but I don't want to do it in this one. Okay, I just wanted to kind of give you an option of some stuff that you can do in order to buy down an interest rate. So sellers need to pay attention to this because they may need to offer that to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. Even though, most price points are still a hyper seller's market, we do have some that are in sellers. We do have some that are in buyers. If you've watched the show the last couple of weeks, you've seen that. All right, we're going to get to this week's numbers here in just a minute. But the sellers need to pay attention to that, and the buyers need to pay attention to that. Okay, here's an option to where we can at least lower our payment for the first 12 months, 24 months. Okay, this is a great option to kind of get, especially for first-time home buyers, get a little extra cash flow for the first couple of months. So there's the lesson for today. Let's get over to our numbers and see what our inventory is like over in Escambia and Santa Rosa County. Let's go.
Signifies a sacred commitment.
Whoops, wrong clip. Sorry about that. Let's go. All right, I normally start the slide with a different slide, but I wanted to make sure I get into this right as we were talking about the mortgage rates because I actually had this come out according to Freddie Mac. This is what people are expecting rates to go to by 2024 Q3. We're in the low 5s. So if all of a sudden you can get something that has you at 3.99 for now, right? 4.99 next Christmas, but this thing gets down to 5.3, like Freddie Mac thinks it's going to go to, well, there's your refinance. Makes sense why that would make sense as far as a purchase right now, because we still have some inventory problems, but prices are leveling off. All right, they haven't really dropped. Listing prices have dropped some, but our sold prices are still up there. We actually are still seeing appreciation in our area. So pay attention to that. This is the slide I normally start with. It says if you have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, you have what's called a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months considered a seller's market. What the slide doesn't say, anything greater than 9 months considered a hyper buyer's market. Anything less than 3 months considered a hyper seller's market. Let's jump over to, I got this up here. We'll put that down there. Let's jump over here to Escambia County to begin with, and it looks like everything is pretty much a seller's or a hyper seller's market up to $650,000. So you see the oranges here drops from sellers, or drops from hyper sellers to sellers. And you notice like even the 100,000 to 150,000, we're up to 2.1 months worth of inventory. If you go watch this time last year, when I was shooting this show, that was under a month. This price point right here, 150,000 to 200,000. We got 2.3 months worth of inventory. That was under a month. So we are adding some inventory. Inventory is rising, but it's not rising enough to where it's a buyer's market or darn sure not a hyper buyer's market. It is a seller, just a seller's market at that 350 to 400,000. Also the 550 to 600,000. And then you get over 650, you have a neutral market, and over 700 is considered a buyer's market. It's 7.2. Let's jump over to Escambia County. Escambia County here. Looks pretty much the same. We actually had one small change here. Excuse me, this is Santa Rosa County. Everything up to 299,000, so 300 grand. Hyper seller's market. 300,000 to 400,000 is a seller's market. We drop back down to a hyper seller's market up to 500,000. And then as you get above 500,000, it's either a seller's market or a neutral market. Now, if you remember last week, if I'm not mistaken, the 700,000 plus in Santa Rosa County was a neutral market. But it's dropped back down to a seller's market, not a hyper seller's market. And that 650 to 700,000, that little pocket is 6.7 months. So yes, technically it's considered a neutral market, but it's starting to creep up towards a buyer's market. Now, how will that impact negotiations? Well, that means that you need to differentiate, especially if you're at 6.7. If you're at 6.7 months, you're going to have to differentiate there. So, quicker show this week. I wanted to get that numbers out. I also wanted to make sure everybody understood that 2-1, especially because of all the talk I hear in the mortgage world right now. And mortgages are high, both from the seller and the buyer side. So I want to make sure I got that out there. But I always end the show talking about an instant offer program. It's funny how I have been doing this instant offer program now for about 3.5 years. And I'm starting to see some other people that are trying to offer it. But some of the offers they've made have been interesting. I never talk bad about anybody else, especially in the industry. I just don't do it. But I know that I've been doing this quite a while, and so this is really a real fair offer, or a real good offer that we've always offered on instant offer. If you don't know how that works, basically I come out, walk the property, no repairs, no commission, no anything, sold as is, and I give you an offer like an investment group was, because I represent a conglomerate of investors. So within 24 hours, you know exactly what a cash offer would look like. All right, you know exactly what we'll do. We can close it very quickly, 10 days, 2 weeks, however long it takes to get the title done. Because we got to get title done, and that's including some other liens, which we were going to talk about. I may talk about next week. Some of the title lien search stuff that's been popping up, people are kind of ignoring. So we need to pay attention to that. But those are some things that are coming up. If a lot of people have used this, and when I come out and give them an offer, I talk about this a lot, that they use my offer as a floor. They'll say, okay, if you're going to give me $200,000, let's put it on the market, see if we can get more. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. All right, it really is a wash. I've tried to run my studies on it, but it's not quite 50-50. Usually they don't get more on the market, but it's about a 41% chance you get more on the market. Cool. And if you've got the time for that, great. That's why we do it. So some people will take my offer, use it as a floor. I'll put it on the market for them. If I can get them more money, great. It's my relationships with my clients are much more important than me trying to do one transaction. So if I can get you more money, great, I will. All right, I laughed with one real estate agent who brought me an offer on a property that I really wanted. I kind of wanted that one because I wanted to add it to the rental portfolio. It's like 2 blocks from about 3 of the properties that I own. And I really liked the area, and so I wanted it. I had offered him. The guy said he would accept it, but he wanted to test the market for 2 weeks just to see if he got more. Sure enough, somebody brought him about $8,000 more. And my seller said, I thought for sure you wouldn't even tell me about that. Well, no, A, I have an ethical and legal obligation to tell you about that. And B, it's just me. Again, I'm much more about the relationship. That particular seller sent me 3 or 4 sellers in the meantime. That's how I make my living. I know I will make my money as long as I take care of people. So this helps out a lot of people, especially if they don't have the money for it. I've bought quite a few inherited properties. Like I haven't been in Florida in 6 years, Shane. I just inherited this property. I have no idea the condition. Walk through it. Usually I do a FaceTime or I set up something to where we walk through together, show the problems, show the issues, and then we come up with a fair deal for everybody. And I've done that quite a bit. I always tell the story about one guy that called me up and had to be in Dallas in 10 days because he got a heck of a job offer with a huge pay raise for the Mavericks. He went to work with the Mavericks. But he had to be there in 10 days. So we worked it out to where it was perfect for everybody. It's a good product that I have offered. I've offered it for, like I said, 3 years now. The link is actually below if you want to get some more information on that. So anyways, a little shorter episode this week. I know we're dealing up this upcoming weekend, Veterans Day weekend. So happy birthday. Whew. I need some more coffee. Happy Veterans Day to all my fellow veterans if you're watching this on that one, all right? Thanks for the service. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?